Hey guys, what's going on? Want to talk to you about 5 tons today. Kind of get off the deuce and a half, at least for a couple of videos, right? 939 series 5 tons are some of the worst military vehicles out there as far as sucking air in the fuel system is concerned. They all do it eventually. Most of them have that problem when you pick them up. Like if you were buying them from government liquidation back in the day, 9 out of 10 of them that came out of surplus wouldn't run because they were sucking air, or didn't make it home if you tried to drive it because it sucked air, because the fuel line's rot. So I want to show you a few things that if you're buying one of these trucks and you're having issues, or you've had this truck for a while and you're having issues, just kind of what you can do to check and solve it yourself. So we'll go over it. We'll start at the fuel tank and we'll start at the motor and work our way back, actually. So we're going to start at the pump. And at the pump, this is your return line, okay? And right here is your overflow valve, is what it's called. And this overflow valve can cause a few problems. Generally, this is not associated with sucking air. If this overflow is bad, it's got a little spring and a ball inside, and then a seat. The spring will rust or just break, and the ball and seat will get worn. Then it won't hold fuel pressure in the gallery here, and you'll have a low power or hard starting or all of the above. That's $30 to replace it if you use the same one I used on my 5.9 build. It's a Torque Tech OFV20, same valve. So anyway, working back from there, we're going to go back to our first real problem area, which is here, okay? This is your soft fuel line. Now, a lot of these will have a hydraulic hose on them to begin with, hydraulic hoses. And I have replaced these, as you can see. And in fact, I've also replaced the big factory fuel filter canister, because those suck too. Generally, this line and the one between the filter housing that's usually here and back from that are the ones that will crack and suck air. And you can check that by taking a cap like so and putting you a Schrader valve in it and just putting a little bit of air pressure on the tank and seeing where the fuel leaks out. Usually they'll be cracked bad enough that you'll see fuel start dripping somewhere. You got to be careful not to blow the tank up, okay? Also, for those of you who don't know, if you do suck air, right here on the back of the pump, that 10mm right there is your bleed screw. So you crack that, and then you can either pressure the tank up until you start getting fuel out of there and then close it and crank it. Or what I do is I will stand right here with the windshield open and a wrench on that in one hand and my arm through the window cranking it on the other. When it cranks up, I'll shut the valve off and the truck's running. So the next place they like to suck air is that big gigantic fuel filter housing they usually have right here. Now, like I said, I switched mine out for a civilian one already. These are the canister style filters, just suck. There's several places they like to suck air, all the seams, and it's just a pain in the ass. The best thing you can do is to get rid of that big giant ass filter housing and put I think it's a Napa 4770 filter base on it, and then you can have your choice of what filters you want to run. Then you go back from there. Now, on a single tank truck, a truck that only has one tank, like a 923, it just goes from there back to the tank. On a dual tank truck, like your wreckers like this and the tractors, it goes back to a splitter valve right here under the corner of the cab. And these lines are prone to, just like the others, they'll get dry rotted and they'll crack and suck air on any of these 6 lines. Okay, so because you've got a center feed, I think the center is the feed, yeah. And then you've got a feed and return on each leg. So you got 6 lines. The valve also has a habit of the O-ring in the top of it will dry rot and leak, and you'll lose prime there. So going from that to the tank, It's usually hard lines unless somebody else has replaced it already. And it's not really an issue in my experience. The next place from that will be the pickup inside the tank. And I've got one here out of another truck that I'm going to show you. This is the pickup, goes in the top of the tank, and it's not that one up front. I think it's farther back. I don't have at all those work lights, and I don't have one on me. They're in the shop. Anyway, goes in the top of the tank like so, and it goes down, and there's a little stepped holder with a hole in it in the bottom that the end of this goes into so it doesn't rattle around too much. Now I've seen a lot of these where this, I don't know how, but when they installed it, they got it outside of the holder and it rattles around like crazy. And what'll happen is if you pull this out and you look at it real closely here on the solder seam, you see it's broken. And it will suck air right there. Okay? So sometimes if you've got a condition where your truck won't suck air, if it's got like a full tank of fuel, but if you get down to a half a tank, it'll suck air. These are also known for getting corrosion pinholes in them along the length of the pickup. I think that's yeah, it's copper and brass. So just a couple of things to check. If your pickup tube can either be cracked there or have a pinhole in it, and that's repairable. There's a guy somewhere that sells stainless ones, but they're one-offs, and I've never dealt with them. Generally, I just repair these myself. So now the only difference between a single tank and a dual tank truck is that you'll also have the associated plumbing between this and the other. It's basically just double of what's here. Another pickup tube, just the same, and some lines. So nothing more complicated than that. And really nowhere else they suck air. I mean, there's plenty of hard line on it. The problem is almost always either the pickup or the soft lines, you know, between the splitter valve, if there is one, and the filter and the pump. So I've never seen one suck air from a fuel filter. I mean, if the fuel filter's loose enough to suck air, it's going to fall off, right? So now I have seen this line rot and just leak fuel while it's running, but it doesn't make it suck air. So just some things to note, guys. Please do yourself a favor and get rid of that giant ass, pain in the ass fuel filter canister. I've seen a lot of those where people will change the fuel filter and then they'll have problems sucking air because they're so big and bulky and heavy that when you're trying to put it back together, you always end up screwing up or pinching or forgetting one of the damn O-rings somewhere on it, and they suck air. So convert it. It's like at fleetfilter.com, you can get that filter base for like 26 bucks. So at Napa, that's over 50 bucks. Anyway, let's make sure I'm not forgetting anything on the other side. Yeah, I don't think I am. Like I said, hard lines for turn lines. It's all, and the plastic lines, those are all just bent. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this helpful and informative. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and the like button below. Also be sure to check out our sponsors that make all these videos possible. That's BigMikesMotorpool.com. He provides our parts, and RapcoParts.com. They provide all of our paint for these projects. See you later, dudes. If it'll stop.